Live चले गए. Oh, okay. Bye. Okay, bye. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Adeel Chaudhary. On account of the World Mental Health Day around the corner, I would like to welcome you on a panel discussion with Miss Uswa Batul, clinical psychology bachelor's and MBA in health service management, and has worked in the ER at Shifa Hospital, which is a well-known facility in Pakistan. And of course, we have with ourselves Pavlos, who is MSc Health Psychology professor, doctor candidate in clinical studies, Department of Medicine at UC and also leads the mental health project at our parent company, Rehability. Thank you guys. Welcome on board. As you all know, tomorrow is the World Mental Health Day, and it's like every other year, the debate around the world is the same. What can we do to improve mental health services in our areas? Uswa has been working in the local market, so is well aware of how the private sector structure works. Pavlos, you understand how the global and the Western markets are working and how are their facilities improving mental health. Assalamu alaikum, Uswa. Welcome on the panel. Thank you for your
Welcome,
time.
Sam. Thank you so much.
Uswa, the whole idea today is to understand what can be learned from global practices. Um, I really believe that Pakistan does not have any structure at all to work on a mental health patient on a scale uh, which takes a long time but actually makes a difference. Can you guide me what are the old practices and what people are actually doing in the industry?
Okay, thank you so much for such a nice introduction. Let's start from the traditional ways like the people were using in the from the past few years, but then like from the last decade, there's a little bit of awareness came in the Pakistan regarding the health. They give the importance. People started giving the importance to the mental health rather than giving them the important, like it is very important, like people mostly focus on the communicable diseases like the infectious diseases which people are mostly suffering from them now. So the non-communicable, the MNS, that mental neurological substance use, that is a mental health, they come under the non-communicable disease, and people do not take it very seriously because they think it's really okay. They will they use their own methods of resolving the conflicts or issues and problems. And in Pakistan, they most of the time people use the traditional ways, and like the our spiritual healing ways to, and they don't go for the psychologist or the psychiatrist in our mental health, because in hospitals now this is the concept is very new for them, not very from the past few years it is going on. Now the this concept is very fresh for them. The people do not have very, much awareness regarding the mental health, like if they are facing some problems regarding the depression or the anxiety issues or some physical like weird symptoms if they are facing, they do not like prefer to go to the healthcare and to go and check for the doctor. They prefer to go for the like spiritual healers, and they think it's some kind of a supernatural thing.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Uswa,
so after,
Uswa, let me just. Pavlos, I completely believe our system is not on the verge of failing. It has failed before even it took off. Okay. People like Uswa are very well educated, they have the proper education, and they can understand what the process is. Even then, the mental health system is failing. Why would you think that is?
That's a good question, actually. And let me first start with tomorrow. Tomorrow is the International Mental Health Day, and the World Health Organization has made, every day every year it has a theme, and tomorrow's theme is to increase the investment that we put into mental health. And that's actually something very important because, the duality behind that is that different countries are affected by COVID, and thus, they need more investment in mental well-being. And there are some other countries which, this might be the case, that mental health and mental well-being was ignored completely. That means that not enough funding was going into infrastructure. It was not going into people to educate. It was to educate them. It was not going into the universities, to research, to advertisement, to raise awareness, and basically prevention. So basically, funding is one concept, one serious concept behind that. The thing with societies is that obviously they need to tackle different problems at the same time. And when you want to solve a problem, you first go to analyze and to solve the most important one. So I would say that in terms of severity, let's say, mental well-being was not that important. You need to remember that all over the world at the moment, the people who govern the countries, they are a generation that, they are the post-war generation, let's say. So until the people who are in their 40s or 50s, take over, where they have new ideas, they have been embraced the technology, the technological era, they have embraced, the new destigmatization of mental well-being, things, will always be a bit, there will not be a balance between mental health, why it doesn't work, what can we do, and these kind of things, because the importance would be, and the focus would be on something else entirely. I mean, mental health is stigmatized even today in very developed countries.
Okay, Uswa, when I say our mental health system has failed before even it became a very common thing for people to understand that this is as equal to as physical disease, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to do something about it. But what are the problems that you face when you have to convince someone that your mental health is as important as your physical health?
Okay, the first of all, awareness is very important to provide to the people now. So it is important to identify the safety issues that people think they are if they disclose their issues with someone, and it will become the huge problem for them in future, or they are like revealing some kind of a secret. So it is really important to tell them these things, and this mental health system is actually the biggest rule in this thing is that they keep everything very confidential. And this confidentiality in the psychology, this should be conveyed to the people, that whatever they will discuss with the therapist or the clinical psychologist, everything will be keep in the
But
uh,
Uswa, but Uswa,
confidential.
but Uswa, do they keep confidential? Because if someone doesn't keep confidential, there is no law to hold them accountable, right? I mean, let's say if a counselor is sharing information which is confidential, I mean, there is nothing in Pakistan to stopping them for doing that, right?
Yes.
So
So it is important, just not just the confidentiality. It is important to we have to like trust someone. Now, when we go to the doctor, we don't know what kind of medicine they are giving us, or the treatment or test they are doing. Is it good for us or not? But so same is the case. Like when we trust we treat them. The clinical psychologist or the therapist, we should treat them as a doctor, like they are also providing our services, like the normal medical doctor providers, and like that they are conducting the tests to find out the issue whatever we are facing. So on empowering the people, it is important, like to teach them the some techniques, like to cope from the depression or the anxiety, or the stress or the daily whatever the stress they are facing. It
uh,
is important to
Pavlos, if developed countries break confidentiality, are counselors' accountability very strict?
Yes, definitely. These are, personal records, and therefore you're liable to, a court of law. So basically, there is a procedure, and it's very, they take this very seriously.
Okay, so that means our basic problem that Uswa, as a practitioner, has identified that people are afraid to trust because they think confidentiality cannot be maintained in this matter.
It's not only that. I mean, if you think about it, it goes deeper than that. Number one, can we see our mental health? No. Can we diagnose a cancer and can we see the cancer? Yes. We can have, an MRI, we can have a picture of it, we can, even after surgery, the doctor can give it to us, supposedly. But, with your mental health, you can't see it. You can't just come to me and I'll tell you, okay, listen, Adeel, here is your stress, or here is your depression, see it. Or, don't do this behavior because in your body, this is what it does in your body, psychopathology. You can't really see it unless your body actually makes a pathology out of it, which is, it's too late. Obviously, you can do things, but the thing is not to reach that state. Then obviously you have the confidentiality, which starts from number one, education, and number two, the law that governs this particular body. So what's the law in terms of confidentiality, in terms of patient care, in terms of quality of life and mental well-being? And then,
Pavlos,
yeah,
what if I tell you that our mental health law is as old as 1920 and it only has two clauses?
I have actually read the mental
Yeah.
health law in Pakistan.
Yeah.
I was very surprised because everything inside is about psychiatry. Psychiatry
Yes.
has nothing to do with psychology. Psychiatry is a field of medicine, and it has to do only with the biology of the brain, let's say. Yeah, in very lame terms, basically, in very simple terms. Psychology has nothing to do with that. Psychology, it deals with how we feel, why we feel the way we feel, and if we want to change these feelings through our behavior. Again, in very simple terms, it's much more than that, but just not to confuse people.
Yeah.
But definitely, this needs to be updated. If you want, the government or the Ministry of Health, they need to employ a team, and the beauty is that you already have people that they have went to the UK or USA, they have studied to the best universities, you have them back in the country. Use them, use this resource, which is going to bring you forward, because this code, the mental health code that Pakistan has, it's very old, very outdated, and it has nothing to do with psychology.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only about psychiatric cases.
Uswa, I have been a mental health advocate for about 7 years, and I know to this date that people cannot differentiate between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Okay.
Hmm.
Also, calling a psychologist with very less experience and not the right accreditation and degrees, people think they are a doctor of medicine also, and they push them to give them medicines like antidepressant, antipsychotics, and all that. Do you think counselors and therapists are also very non-serious because there is no check and balance for them?
Uh,
The
no, it's not a therapist and
psycho and counselors.
okay, counselors and therapists, they aren't non-serious. We can't say them that they are non-serious. Only the serious and very competent and dedicated people, they come in this field of this therapist. Not like every one okay, so they are serious, that's why they are in this field. The people who need help, they do not take them seriously. because they are like they do need help. They want to resolve their problem or issues whatever they are facing, but they there is a hesitation, there is a resilience between them, why we go for them and what the people will say. Like for example, we are very commonly, if I have a dental issue or a medical issue, I can tell someone like, yeah, I went to dentist for my teeth treatment. But I want, but this will be very stigma in our society, and I will feel hesitate if I say कि I was facing a depression from the past few months and I visit a mental health. So people will say like, oh my god, you are a psycho kind of, matlab, they do use these words like some kind
Yes.
of a psycho, or they are a are you mad or something.
Argument.
So
So,
this field is serious. The people working in this field, this is serious. What we have to do is we have to promote the awareness. We need to aware the people regarding this field that they, if they need help, they should go for the for the mental health doctor or a
uh,
psychologist or a psychiatrist.
So, Uswa, Pavlos, we use a local term called pagal, which means mad. Okay, even when people like Uswa and myself advocate mental health, and she's a professional, people would usually say that she's a pagal doctor. She's a doctor of the mad people, right?
Hmm.
And because the word madness is related to the fact, and then when people get afflicted with any mental health problem, the first stigma that they are dissolved in is the concept that you are broken, you cannot be repaired, this is a problem that will damage everyone and everything around you. Is this a global perspective also with European markets, or is it just a local problem that we're facing because we're that backward?
Um, that's difficult to answer because I genuinely believe that all societies throughout the globe have been, in this situation at some stage, because this is inevitable. In order to do a breakthrough or in order to evolve, you need first to be at a stage where you need to be involved or you need to do a breakthrough. Obviously, if you go, you can see cases in the UK, in Greece, in Egypt, in the USA, Norway, Germany, where mental health was stigmatized once upon a time, and it was only for the crazy people, let's say. What people don't realize is that even when you're feeling sad, just a simple feeling of sadness that all of us feel, that is mental health. That's exactly it. We don't have to mean that mental health is only for people who have schizophrenia, or they have a brain disorder that affects their behavior, or they have clinical depression that they can't get off bed and they need their medicine, or that's very stigmatized. So no, I wouldn't say that's only on the on the Pakistani culture, let's say, but I would argue that society as a whole, it's a bit behind when the whole world basically has destigmatized the concept of mental health or mental well-being, if you want.
Pablos, that's where my argument is with everyone, that we are a very young nation with about 100 million smartphone users, have access to Instagram, Facebook all the time, right? People
Yeah,
people see these things on their feed, they see videos, they see, yeah, even local content that they see, right? And they
yeah.
see stories where, if this problem is not resolved, it goes, they see the consequences and the end result of it. Even then, with that much more content available, these guys are, there's some way or the other they don't.
Yes, but you need to understand that those who use their phones and they educate themselves, they are next to people who don't use their phones and they don't educate themselves. So basically, you are a nation of 212 million people. That's a lot of people. Disregard China and India, but that's a lot of people. That means that you have a generation that educates themselves and they know how to use the phone, and they stigmatize themselves, and they can't really break free from the rest, because the rest need to be educated. And who will do that? Because when you are in a family, let's say, of five or four, and you are the youngest, and your parents are in their 60s, let's say, um, and I mean, how can you discuss with them, or how can you show them when they are set in their ideas? It takes a lot of it takes a lot of work to do that, because even if you discuss with your parents that they are open to the idea, you need to remember that your parents, their group, with his other parents, other people on the same age, will have this very close or limited, let's say, thinking. So it's a vicious circle in a way. So unless someone is not afraid to break free and say, listen, this is what it is, this is what I like, this is what I'm gonna do, I don't care what you say, things cannot really progress, fast, let's say. But I think that's a society or a cultural issue, but not only faced in Pakistan. I do believe that all countries around the globe, many years later, a few years later, some years to come, faced it or will face it. I don't believe that you're alone, but obviously, in the Pakistan, because it's a big country, you can see it a lot. If you
Yeah,
go to a country with 11 millions, then you can't really track it, or you can't really see it. But
I'll be very honest with you, Pavlos. I agree where you're coming from, and but when I see numbers, right? When people say, "Oh, we do have one of the youngest population out of 220 million. Majority of our population is young and thriving, and the middle class is growing, where access to content and their ability to understand content and to process content very good." The only reason that the whole country wakes up is when we have celebrity suicide, and that's become sorry, I think we've lost Uswa because of a connection issue. Let's just carry on the discussion. The whole ideology of the whole country and media waking up and organizations getting savvy are on three occasions: World Mental Health Day, if there is Bollywood, Indian Bollywood, that we are much under the influence of actors suicide, or we have a local celebrity suicide where the news goes to the media. Then the whole country says, "Oh, we are not talking about mental health. We are not about." Pavlos, if I tell you, we as a nation don't have a national suicide helpline, we've never had one. If I tell you that there is not a service to intervene if someone is about to harm someone and the information is available, these are structural things that are not there, even if the system has the money and the education.
it's sad, to be honest, because these systems, they do exist in most countries, and it's sad that you have people basically effectively dying because of that, because something would have happened. The thing is, unfortunately, we don't put a lot of effort into advertising mental health. If you want, for example, see what happened with COVID.
Yeah.
You have celebrities and you have everyone saying, yeah, you know what, I suffered from COVID, I am diagnosed with COVID free, I am a survivor of COVID, something like that. So imagine it was destigmatized very fast. And I think that's something good, because it will change society. So imagine if the same thing happened with mental health. But the thing is, it is happening because COVID affected everyone's mental health around the globe, everyone's. So that means people start talking about it. So if the Pakistan market, takes advantage of that, the people, they raise their voice. I believe the government as a whole, because you're the government, you're the one who elect the people, you make the people, in power, you put them in office, they will be able to do something. They will be able to do a movement.
Pavlos, sorry to cut you here, but the week New York Times, Washington Post, and Bloomberg wrote an article that mental health is the next pandemic in the world because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Is the week where I reached out to a lot of my friends in the journalist industry, and I said someone needs to put this on a newspaper front article in Pakistan, that we are no different. we believe that 12% to 13% of our 220 million population is affected by mental health. And I thought some impact will come in, because private organizations like ours, we don't have $100 million to put on billboards like the US does, and European markets do. I don't have, my prime minister doesn't come on television and say, hang on kids, your mental health is also a priority, where European people do.
It's
The
true.
Prime Minister of New Zealand, she has just put aside $2 billion for well-being of kids, which includes mental
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we come back. We have people like you supporting us with information, with knowledge, training materials. We are happy we're backed by such a brilliant healthcare system in the UK that is trying to bring in global practices. But
Yeah.
how much impact can we make as one company?
Um, that's difficult to say, because change doesn't happen overnight. Change happens slowly, slowly, steadily, and when you build it. So what we need to do is, people like you, they need to raise their voice, and they need to say to the people out there, because it's not only the government. Remember, it's also people who support the government or their ideas, or people are difficult to change generally, especially the masses. They're difficult to be affected, they're difficult to change. So what we need to do is say, listen, your feelings matter. I think what we have done in our eagerness to raise the importance of mental health, we have made it a very heavy topic, if you want. A
Yes, it
very
is.
draining and heavy topic.
It's a heavy burden.
And the thing is, it shouldn't be, because the beauty of because we have disconnected from one another. Every time you ask someone, how are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Have you ever heard anyone telling you, how are you? I'm not really so well. I'm not well. They need to be really down in order to be able to actually express that, because we have not learned to share, because we think these things are private. I can understand why people feel like that, but they are not. They are feelings, and they need to go out. I don't feel very good, but don't really want to discuss about it, but I just don't feel good. That's it. That's the reality of it, and that's okay. That's
Pavlos,
okay.
how is that okay in a society that demands perfectionism? And I will give you an example. This is the first time I'm ever telling anyone, and this is a live session. I will tell you.
Okay.
I have been struggling with my mental health for 10 years, and I have had more downs than ups ever, because of no support system and solution around me, with uh, chronic depression to insomnia to things which are worse, which I think if I just even mention you, I might lose my job, or I might lose my credibility as an advocate of mental health. I am so scared. But I want to tell you, Pavlos, I want you to know what my problem is, that I can tell you in private and you will not judge me. But I have a fear that being the team leader of an organization trying to do something, people will say, no, this guy himself can't handle his problems, let alone he's gonna do something different.
No human being is perfect. Behind closed doors, you don't know what is happening in people's lives. And everyone in their life, actually, there is research supporting that. Every single human in their life, once they've undergone through depression, once, at least once, but they don't know about it sometimes, because they're not aware, they don't know, they pass it lightly. So it's okay. So what? So what? This is
Pavlos,
how you felt. Because the
you
thing
are
is, remember,
you are saying it's okay. I might not be invited to my best friend's birthday party anymore, because your friends are gonna say this guy is crazy.
then you need to pick up your friends more carefully.
How carefully, Pavlos?
Because the thing
Pavlos,
is, the
it's a
thing
big
is,
problem in our society. People fail to address the fact that they think the only solution in Pakistan to get to resort to someone's solution to their mental problem is to exclude them.
you can't.
They
Because
do. I
yeah, but
have
that's
been
impossible.
excluded. I
And that's
have excluded
impossible.
people.
That's impossible because we are feelings. We are humans, and well, actually we are feelings. We are humans, and we are full of feelings, and that's it. That's the reality of it. Either you like it or not. Either you want to hide behind your fingers and and pretend I don't have feelings. I'm okay. That's entirely on you, and that's your problem, not or your friend's problem, not yours.
Pavlos, even if you
let me
okay,
let
go
me
on.
say let me say this, and that's the beauty of it. You need to find the power to detach, yeah, from this emotional state or this thinking that says, me as a dealer have an issue, or I have a challenge, a problem, a feeling, whatever. My friends would not like to have to keep me company because I have this particular peculiarity, let's say, or this issue, which I find it very beautiful, by the way. Um, okay, you know what? I don't want to be friends with them anymore. I don't want that aspect of them because that's who I am and this is how I feel. And Adeel, let me tell you something. This is showing respect to yourself. And respect to oneself needs to come first because from within, then we go without. And that means that you and other people like you will one day inherit this country. So, if you don't have the proper mentality or fight to do that, then you will be in the same situation again.
Pavlos, a population of 220 with the most successful multinationals operating in Pakistan because of our growing commerce and e-commerce. If I have been going to organizations and saying, I will give you counselors free of charge so that I can calculate your mental health for the next 45 days and let you know how we can improve it. And they said, no, 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 no. Shh, don't talk about it. I don't want to know if someone's depressed in my team. And I don't want him to know that I'm trying to check his mental health. That is how big uh, the denial level is with us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Only education can break that. I'm afraid only education and because basically, what is marketing? What is marketing mental health? What is trying to get it out there? It's educating people. It's giving them the resources to understand, because knowledge gives you understanding, and understanding can give you, it can really open your mind. It can really open your mind. But people need to be prepared that until that change comes, they will struggle in terms of society. That means that friends, family, or loved ones, they may get away from them because they are actually in touch with their feelings. And that's especially, it's way more difficult for men rather than women, because men are raised not to cry, to be strong, to be the breadwinner, to have this macho, I suppose, which is silly.
No,
All
I
you need to
completely agree.
think, all you need to think, really, literally, is that all of us, we are humans. All of us, we carry one soul, regardless of what religion you believe in, regardless of where you live, regardless your color, regardless, your education. You have one soul. So build it beautifully and don't judge the others. I mean, there's no
Pavlos,
point.
this all feels very good when you're talking about it, yeah? And what if I tell you that a professional working for a very good organization cannot go to their human resource management and say, I am feeling down? The next question is going to be, oh my God, we're going to lose productivity. Might as well let go of him or put him in a race where he can't compete. So basically, setting a here, if you go for a mental health solution, 99% of the time, unconsciously, someone is setting you up for failure.
And this is where you need the government. This is where you need the laws. And this is where you need the people to advocate in favor of mental well-being. Because if you don't have this protective net, unless you are super rich, you will not be able to go and open up your job and say, listen, I don't feel really good, and be prepared to be to be let go, which is not something that someone would do consciously. So basically, we come again to raising the awareness,
Okay.
having that voice that you do, so that maybe the laws will, and they will change. I'm pretty positive they will change.
Pavlos, in the private university sector, in a particular region, the suicide rate has gone up by 37% from last year. Okay, and this is a number that was calculated only based on a sample size of a few thousand people and suicides in those particular institutions.
Okay.
Those institutions do not have an in-house or a digital in-app or an online counseling service, no prevention methods, no nothing. This keeps on repeating itself. And when you want to go and say and take their name and say, hang on, I'm going to go publicly and say this university needs to make sure they have a 24/7 helpline available from a registered clinical psychologist with the proper procedure in place and some sort of framework, so that XYZ service can get to them if they need help in person, right? We really want the government to say, no. Listen, we're not going to do anything. But hang on, if you can do something, do it. Even that level is not achieved. What do you do when you go to up and say, we have a solution, you don't have to do anything, we will bring in, let's say, NHS practices, we will bring in people like you as consultants, and we will sort everything out. And then they say, oh, no, don't talk about mental health, it's not good.
The people in key positions in different organizations, be it private or governmental organizations, they need to, first of all, they need to be open. Secondly, they need to be able to participate in different seminars, if you like, or different conferences, not seminars, different conferences, because a conference is, what can give these organizations and people the ability to realize that there is something more out there. So it's like bringing together all the deans from the university, or all the ministers, or all the the political, the heads of the political parties, or different people like you, different CEOs, into different conferences, so that you can educate them and upskill them. That will change policy, and slowly policy will become the cultural practice within organizations. So really, all you need is to attract these people in order to make the change, but at the same time you need everyone else around them to advocate that, listen, we want this to change. So basically to have a voice, because this is a two-way relationship. Is the people who hold the authority, let's say, of the law or the government, or in university, or in the health industry, to come together and decide on a framework, and then the people generally to raise their voice and say, I matter. What I feel matters. Don't dismiss my feelings.
Yeah, I mean, before our third panelist joins in, I think this is brilliant, the way that you talk about how there's a step-by-step structure that can build in practices from the government level and then spiraling down to all institutions and categories. And to be very honest, Pavlos, I have been hearing this, talking to government bodies. Recently, there was a huge scandal on student harassment cases that surfaced of students going back 10 to 15 years, that they were sexually or physically abusively harassed at school, verbally harassed. And then, even then, nothing has happened. But we have Rama with us. Assalamu
Assalamualaikum.
alaikum. How are you, Rama?
I'm fine. How are
Rama,
you?
I am
How are
good.
you,
Rama,
Adeel? How are you, Pavlov?
Hello, Rama. I'm good, thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on this
No problem.
platform.
Rama, the discussion is revolving around why Pakistan, which has a huge problem of mental health, is still struggling to create that awareness.
Mhm.
Uh, can we have your opinion on that as a mental health practitioner?
Basically, this is because first thing, mental health has a stigma in our society, and many people feel very fearful when they think about this, that if they are being associated with a disorder, most of the people think that it would be associated to some taboo or some stigma in our society. So when mental health is not as a matlab profession, mental health is basically a stigma in our society. So when it comes to a profession, it is not at all acceptable being social individuals in our society. So
Okay.
how it would become a profession?
Rama, when and for mine and Pavlov's understanding, when people approach you, uh,
Hmm.
is it because they have been rejected from every other help around them, from family, from colleagues? What are you? Are you the last resort for people for their mental health problems?
Basically, in Pakistan, most of the time people give importance to the physical ailments, and when we talk about the mental issues, they think that it's something related to the physical. And when we talk about the psychosomatic complaints, you can see that most of the people basically depicts their pain in physical forms, because they know that the physical ailments and the physical illnesses are more acceptable in our society. So when it comes to their support systems, they know that in their support system and in the home where they are living, there is very less acceptability towards this thing. That if, for example, I am that individual and I call this, I am feeling low or I am feeling irritable, I know that my family won't understand this. But when I say that my head is aching and my body is aching, or I have pain in my leg, then my support system will understand this. So this is basically a problem, and you are right that after going to the physician, most of the individuals do this in our society. They go to the physicians, they go to the doctors, and then later on they realize that this is not their physical ailment, and they spend years and years undergoing the physical test, each and everything. And mental health issues are unfortunately uh, going across our society very rapidly. They're spreading across our society very rapidly. So obviously, when there is no acceptance, then how it come that the profession would flourish in our society?
uh, uh, Me and Pavlos were discussing, Rama, that there is no proper accountability. For instance, there is no law which protects the patient or the psychologist in
Hmm.
Pakistan. Okay,
Hmm.
let's look at it both ways, right? Patient
Hmm.
has a legal right also to their
Hmm.
information. The patient has some sort of liability, and uh, the counselor, people are scared to go to the counselor because they think that their mental health illness will tag them as someone unfit for the society. How many times do you come across where people say कि I don't want anyone to know, and even when you tell them to go talk to people and be open about it, do are they open about it?
Recently, Adeel, what happened to me is basically I do private practice as well. Two of the clients came to me, they booked the appointments, but then they just vanished out. I don't know what happened to them. But what I think, when they discuss with their family members, I usually talk about this, that a person in our society can spend 3,000 on a single dress, but he is unable to spend 1,000 or even 500 on his or her session. And Pavlov, may you can be amazed. You would be amazed after listening this, that 500 rupees is nothing. But believe me, counselors in our society are just charging 500. Even some of the counselors are charging 500, because there is no acceptability. People don't come on the sessions. They don't want to charge. They don't want to give the fees of the session. So these are all the things, and these are all the barriers which are uh, prevailing in our society.
Pavlos, do you think partly the solution is to bring in a digital solution where people can stay at home and quietly speak to a counselor?
I mean, definitely, this is one of the options, because the thing is that a lot of people are worried that they will be seen as going to a therapist, or they may have the barrier of, they may be ashamed of actually going, or they may not want to inform their, member of the household where they're going. Um, so a digital solution towards counseling is, it's something that can be seen as positive, because it removes these barriers.
Yeah. Um uh, Rama, let's say if you guys have to document cases, and those cases have to be verified by a supervisor. And my biggest problem with Pakistani practice is that no one checks how you guys are handling sessions, and how you guys
Yeah,
are
yeah,
conducting your
yeah.
practice.
Hmm.
Do you think because people have had very bad experiences that they don't, even the little that want to go to counselors, they don't go?
Yeah, you actually, Adil, the thing is, when there is no proper legislation, there is no proper licensing system in our society in Pakistan, then how can you think that all of the therapists would be the same? Obviously, when I take my example, I have studied this subject, psychology. I have spent a lot in this subject. But when there is no output, there is no income. Whenever I take sessions, if there is no income, people are not coming to me, and also there is no licensing system, then how come it is possible that every one of us is so ethical?
Oh
Because
yes.
human beings differ. Maybe I am considering my ethical boundaries, but no, maybe some other therapist is not considering his or her ethical boundaries, and he is not aligning to whatever he should be as a professional. So this is the major reason. We, like every other, for example, if we take engineering or if we take any other subject, like every subject, at every subject, every individual is studying a lot and putting a lot of efforts. But when we talk about psychology, the income and the acceptance as a professional is so low in our society. And what is the reason? The reason is the taboo. The reason is the spiritual healers as well. Maybe Pavlov
Oh,
know about this, that the spiritual healers are just taking our place. And there have been a lot of debate about this, that the mental health professionals can even collaborate with the spiritual healers. But most of the people in our society, they have this they have this faith that it can be an evil eye, it can be a black magic. For example, if my sister is going through some mental illness, the first thing that click in my mind would be that maybe it's because of the black magic. So things like this
Yeah,
happen in
that
our
doesn't
society.
exist
Then what
in
will
the
happen?
UK
I
or
will
in
go to the
Europe.
faith healer first. I will go to the faith healer.
Yeah.
but
Majority of the people, and
Rama,
I mean,
yeah, Pavlov.
aren't these
sorry,
faith
in order
healers more?
to sorry, in order to add a bit on that, is that a faith healer deals only with something that's about faith and beliefs, and it
Hmm,
has nothing to do with evidence. And psychology is something which is
hmm,
evidence based. Yeah. So I understand that this may be a very difficult issue for someone who has a deep belief system, so it's really going against it. But these two, they're not interrelated, at the first glance anyway. So that we
Uh,
don't have. Yeah.
yeah, but Rama, aren't these faith healers also expensive?
Sir, when there is acceptability, for example, my choice is faith healer, then my choice is faith healer. Whether I am from any class, whether I am from a high class or I'm a middle class or a lower middle class, if my choice is a faith healer and I believes, you know, treatment, basically, when we go to any treatment, if I have an illness, I will go for that kind of a treatment in which I have faith. So if I have faith in this spiritual healer and I have no faith in a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist, so how come it's possible that I would approach?
So,
Obviously,
Pavlos,
I would spend a lot of money, even although I maybe I am a lower middle class, but I would spend a lot of money because I am suffering from that illness.
okay, Pavlos Rama is so right, because if you start driving from metro towns to non-metro towns, these faith
Hmm.
healers have so much advertisement,
Hmm. Hmm.
billboards. They have these ads painted, hand painted on walls, saying all your problems will be resolved. Just call this number. Marriage, relationship, financial issues, peer pressure, everything.
See, that's a big cultural issue, though. Unless people educate themselves and they realize that this is not really working, let's say, um, because it's like waiting for a miracle. Unless people start realizing that they are the miracle, unless people start developing an internal locus of control, an internal locus of control basically means that I'm responsible for me and my feelings, and an external locus of control means that the society, Adeel, Rahma, they are responsible for
Hmm.
my feelings. So in the first instance, you see that I am in control. In the second instance, you saw that I gave you control. So that means that these people are giving control to the faith healers, to the governments, to, you can blame
To the internal factors.
everyone. You can blame all you want. The fact is, if you want to change, be the change. And yes, it will be painful, but it is worth
Hmm.
it.
Okay, Rama, if you can highlight on because of COVID, what type of cases are coming to you the most, and what trend have you seen in digital? Because you are also working from home, I
Hmm.
am also working from home. Pablos
Hmm.
has been working. What
Hmm.
type of problems have been the most common in Pakistan because of COVID-19?
Okay, so when we talk about the COVID-19, Adil, as you have seen that in Pakistan, uh, not only in Pakistan, it's not only about Pakistan, all over the world, it was not only a disease, but it was also associated with our social factors as well. And again, take an example. For example, if I am feeling from coronavirus, let's say, then in my society, maybe first thing, my family members will feel vulnerable, and then there is a lot of chance that my neighbors and my friends, they all will feel vulnerable. So as an individual, if you suffer from coronavirus, then you feel a lot of social rejection as well by the society. So most first thing is your what is going in yourself, and that leads to anxious thoughts, that leads to ruminating thoughts as well, and what is going in myself. And then as Pavlov was talking about the external factors, when we talk about the external factors, obviously there is a social rejection as well. Everyone was so scared that maybe if she is suffering from corona, then I can also be affected by her. So, as a patient, when we talk about this, I will talk about the two things. First, as a patient, if you are suffering from coronavirus, what will you be able? What are you going through? And when another individual is going through coronavirus, is not going to coronavirus. For example, if I am not going to coronavirus, then there is a lot of chance that the anxious feelings will overwhelm in my mind.
Uh,
So
uh, Rama, there has
most
been
of the
news that
patients were. Yes, sir. Yes.
there has been a lot of reporting that domestic violence has risen. Have cases come to you? Can you shed some light on mental health issues that have really been highlighted because of us being confined to a small space?
Okay, so I talked about anxiety. I can talk about depression as well. because when the people had lack of contact to their society and lack of contact to their daily because the daily routines were being changed, and they had a lot of time at home, and even work from home was initially it was not prevailing, and later on it became prevalent, and even then people were not happy with that. Most of the people were not happy. So when we talk about Adil, you are asking about the domestic violence. It was prevalent because when a man is sitting at a home, basically what is in our society, a man earns a day or every 27 hours or 6 7 hours. So a man is going out of the home and the woman is sitting at a home. Maybe the woman is going through a lot, but a man don't think, but man can't realize that what my wife is going through. But when he sat at the home during the COVID period, he came to know about that there are so many factors which he was not able to handle. And maybe every couple is not the same. Maybe some have found a good time as well, but where the relationships were already not good, there the issues were arising a lot in the pandemic. And what I think, Adil, pandemic has teached us that what kind of a family structure we have. Because most of the time what happens to us is we are going on the jobs, we are going to our educational institutions to get education, or we are busy all around, but we are not at the home. Usually we come at the evening times or at the night times. So when actually we were able to sat at the home, then actually I got to know about my family structure as well. So a lot of my friends told me that they got to know about their family structure. That is it a functional one or as it is a
Oh,
dysfunctional.
wow. Oh, okay.
Um,
So,
on this
This is
one,
what pandemic has taught us.
let me add that because when we say abuse, yeah, we always think that a man beats,
a woman.
a
Yes.
woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not always the case. Abuse can be
Yeah,
also
that's a good
emotional,
point.
and it can be directed from the female towards the male. Yeah, as one might be more dominant than the other. It doesn't has to do with the physical ability of someone. It's not about men hitting or um, yeah.
Pavlos, we come from a society that advocates joint family system.
Hmm.
We, in one part of the other in our life, have lived with our parents, with our uncles, aunties, nephews, nieces, cousins. So, what Rama is saying is something very interesting that I would like you to shed out the light. That this is the first time that we actually are figuring out if our family is actually functional or not.
Functional or not.
Okay.
And if it's non-functional, our mental health does not know how to operate, because now everyone wants to figure out what their role is in the family.
Well, everyone is doing that on a daily basis everywhere. The thing is that a family is not something that you have a role and that's it. It's not something static. It's something liquid, I'd say. It's something that you keep identifying on a daily basis if you want. It's like giving and taking emotionally from your partner. You will not always give and take 50-50. Sometimes you'll give 30, they will give 70, you'll give 10, they will give 90, you'll give 90, they will give 10. So I understand that the COVID situation have provided with an opportunity for everyone to identify where we stand as a family and where how we feel for one another, because we see each other on a daily basis now and we don't have our space. And that's the most crucial part, basically, because every human being needs their space. So it's quite interesting indeed to be able to see and identify where we stand. However, if we couldn't protect our mental health prior to COVID, I don't think we will be able to protect it during COVID. So if we don't know how to
Hmm.
put the boundaries properly, because boundaries are very it's a very nice word. It's a very, very, very nice word, because the thing is, it puts relationships in a box, let's say, and you know where you stand. Obviously, with families, it's a bit different, but isn't a marriage supposed to be something that you want, and something that you want to be part of, rather than be used inside of
Now,
it?
Pavlos, Rama, do you agree that marriages here mostly are forced upon? Uh, if
Yes, yes, to some extent.
Pavlos, in our society, the Asian predicament is very simple. Girl reaches a certain age, khalas, get
Hmm.
her married, get her out of the house. She's not our liability, responsibility anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that relationship counseling is on the rise and people are looking for private services to confidentially talk about people around them affecting their physical health because of their mental downfall, health downfall.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, our local practitioners have a huge intake of people who are actually in relationship crisis. Relationship management is becoming a huge problem. Working from home, having kids around, wife, mother-in-law, dad, father-in-law, cousins, nephews. Okay, we have a habit of, and Rama would agree with me. We have a habit of coming back home from work and everyone's sitting down for dinner, and that is the only one time that we have to look at each other, and we have to be like, okay, this is the only hour that we will all be together, and I will be done with it, right? Now you have to handle those people 18 hours a day. There is no privacy concept in our family system.
Because we are living in a collectivist society, and
Yeah.
most of the systems are collectivist, like we have joint family systems, and even we are most of the people are unable to explore ourselves. We, for example, if I am Rahma, then I maybe for me, Rahma is not an only an individual. For me, Rahma is a daughter, Rahma is a sister, Rahma is a mother, Rahma is a wife. So this is basically a collectivist culture. So when we talk about the collectivist culture, we are living as a social connected beings in our society.
And that's where Pavlos, I think that's the difference between our
Hmm.
culture and the
Our
culture
culture
you
and
come
your
from.
culture.
And Pavlos, what are the good practices we can bring in to balance our mental health in our system?
Um, well, that's a tricky question, because it's you need to we need to do a lot of work. I mean, it is even a lot of work here in the UK, to be honest. First of all, you need a clear mental health act. You
Yeah.
need clear guidelines in the law.
Hmm.
Secondly, you need a clear guide. The law needs to clearly state who qualifies to be a therapist,
Hmm.
because just graduating from university is not enough. Normally, in Europe, you need to study at least 7 to 9 years.
Hmm.
That's the same as becoming a doctor. So it's a very, very serious commitment. So in Pakistan, a framework needs to be added to promote this kind of change. At the same time, the people need to be educated more.
Hmm.
We need to educate ourselves more. In a way, we need to change part of the culture, because that's a very serious problem or challenge. But most importantly, I would say the first two. The government needs to put a legal document together that will define, what mental health is and what a psychologist do, and basically destigmatize the mental well-being and start promoting it instead of undermining it. Because by doing nothing, you only undermine it. You don't do anything else.
I really think Pavlos, since Rama is in the industry and working, I am sure she hears a lot of stories about unprofessional ethical framework being followed at local, and I'm not scared to say a lot at the government level. Okay, there is no framework, so ethics go out of the window. So it is very difficult for people like Rama to make their own set of rules to follow.
Hmm.
She has to define the client's boundaries, I'm sure. So, Rama, what are the struggles you go through when there is no framework? How do you try? What are your rules that you set in when you're dealing with a chronic case, let's say?
The first thing which I told you was most of the people, if it comes to a chronic case, for example, we talk about psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, something like this. What happens is, I told you that most of the people, most of the families believe that this is something related to black magic or evil or anything. So they actually they prefer go to their preference is faith healers. And let me talk about the psychiatrist as well, what is going with the psychiatric area here.
Yes.
Most of the psychiatrists, they prescribe medicines, they give different dosage to the patients of bipolar, schizophrenia, chronic diseases like these. And the patient, when he was going through when he is going through that medication, he so after some time he gets fine. And later, even after some months, he again the relapse start, and he come back to the professional, he come back to the psychiatrist. What happens here is that first I talked about the faith healers, and then I am talking about the medication. So most of the people, either they are relying on the faith healers or they are relying on the medications. So as a psychologist, it's very difficult to develop your status in this society, and especially when it comes to the chronic cases. And when we talk about the boundaries, obviously, if I am following my professional ethics, my boundaries, I am not prescribing the medicine, I am not talking the way that the faith healer is talking. I am talking as a psychologist or as a therapist. Maybe the other individual, what happens is that the other individual or the client is not feeling very good about me. Most of the time this happens. But again, if you are a good psychologist or a good therapist, and you know how to initiate the sessions, you know how to educate, psychoeducate your client, then it will gonna work.
Uh, um, uh, Pavlos, what are the new practices Europe is adapting because of the crisis in mental health that we can learn and we can follow
Hmm.
in Pakistan?
I wouldn't say so much in terms of practices because there's not something new to invent in terms of therapy, but I would say in terms of approach, COVID has introduced a new, as we discussed earlier, a telehealth, let's say, initiative, as well as it has promoted a lot prevention by educational systems and by videos, by seminars, by different educational materials from different institutions. I mean, journals all around the world, they are giving free their articles, their latest articles in relation to COVID and mental health. So I would say is to do the same thing, engage into more telehealth and communicating with people so that you can raise awareness. Awareness is a very, very, very important concept. It's similar to education. Educate the people, and they will make the change.
Yeah. So the Rama, how has your experience been with online counseling? Are people more open? People more confident? Do are people accepting the concept?
Yeah, I think online counseling is so far going better than the in-person counseling. It's because when a person tells at home that I am going to the therapist in person, maybe the family is not accepting, the family
Yes.
will not accept.
Yeah.
But if he or she is just sitting in a room, closing the door, talking to the therapist, and maybe he is more comfortable. So I think in that aspect, if you speak, it is good. So it's going good. But and also, Adil, I would like to tell Pavlov that nowadays, I'm happy about that. That most of the mental health advocates are coming at a social media platform, and now basically, as Pavlov said to us, that they are conducting the webinars and different workshops and seminars. So most of the mental health advocates are also coming up to this platform of social media in our society. For example, like on the Facebook and Instagram and different other platforms. And at least what I am happy about is that the people are at least getting awareness, and I'm
Yes.
hopeful that at some point, although it's difficult to build some legislative body or some proper formal body related to our licensing system, but at least if there is a sensitization, if we will able to build a sensitization in our society, it will gonna work. It will gonna work someday, inshallah.
Inshallah, that's good. Guys, thank you so much for this
Thank
session.
you.
Rama, Pavlos, it was a
Thank you
pleasure
so much.
talking to you guys both. For everyone watching this, please download our app, Hello Doctor, and book a counselor and speak to them and have the experience of having a virtual counselor at the palm of your hand. Thank you so much, guys. Happy World Mental
Thank you
Health Day
so
for
much, Adil,
tomorrow.
Pavlov.
Take care.
Thank you.
Love.
Okay,
All right,
bye bye.
Pavlos, thank you very much. Bye, guys.